it's muted now. I'm going to unmute it and you can say hi to everyone. And then you'll press share screen and you'll choose the slides.
Okay. Share screen.
Yeah. This one.
Okay, let us begin with our metta. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desires for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. Okay? Now, with this metta thought, let us continue our meditation practice as we have been doing it in the past. This time we start focusing our mind on the breath exclusively, without words, concepts, ideas, but just pay attention to the breath as it comes and goes. That means we pay attention to the touch of breath at the rims of our nostrils, and then we notice breath reaching our lungs, expanding our lungs, and expanding our lower abdominal area. As we breathe out, we notice lower abdomen contracting, chest area contracting, and breath leaving our nostrils. These functions take place invariably every time we breathe in and breathe out. And then as the breath becomes, as we keep paying attention to it, we notice the breath becoming subtler and subtler, and the body becomes calmer and calmer. Mind becomes calm and relaxed. When the mind, breath, and the rest of the body are calm, relaxed, then our clinging or attachment to anything will fade away because we notice all these are appearing and disappearing. When something is appearing and disappearing, we cannot hold on to it. As soon as the mind and body, the breath are calm, any thought of greed, any thought of clinging disturbs that state of mind. So we prefer staying, focusing mind on this calm, peaceful state. And then greed may not appear in our mind. When this happens, again the body, mind, breath all become even more calm, more relaxed, more peaceful. Then rigidity, uptightness, resentment or anger will not arise there, because when the body, everything is calm, relaxed, the resentment has no place there. When resentment fades away, we become again more calm, relaxed, and peaceful. You can see every time certain mental, unwholesome mental factor is taken care of and disappears, the mind becomes even more and more calm, relaxed. In that calm and relaxed state, another unfriendly and yet very pleasant mental state can arise. That is sleepiness. As we all know, sleepiness is very soothing, comforting. Most people welcome it, but it will not going to bring us insight or wisdom. And therefore, this is the time not to welcome sleepiness and remain alert and mindful, arousing our spiritual energy to overcome sleepiness. When spiritual energy arises, mind gets very active, pleasant, and not sleepy. And then the body and mind becomes even further relaxed and peaceful. However, when sleepiness disappears, energy arises, mind can flip over to another unwholesome mental state, that is restlessness and worry. Restlessness and worry arises because of unfinished work or incorrectly done work, or thinking of the future work, some future plans, and so on. And therefore, temporarily, we have to suspend all the future planning and stop thinking of all the past things, whether they are wholesome or unwholesome. We don't dwell upon the past. When all this happens, you build up your confidence in yourself, in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, your practice and your moral principles that you sincerely want to observe. You cannot correct the past, nor can you plan the future for that. This very moment, you stay very clean, pure. And then all the doubt fades away because you have seen the results of your own practice. With this, you will see the mind becomes even more calm, relaxed, and peaceful. And then you stay noticing every tiny little moment, something arises and passes away. If nothing else, you notice the breath rises and falls, appears and disappears. The feeling that arises along with the breath rises and it falls. Your perception of the breath and the feeling rises and falls, and so forth, without verbalizing, conceptualizing. Just watch this rise and fall of whatever you experience. I let you do that because if I keep talking, you may not have time to practice. This very precious moment we spend practicing. By means of these meritorious deeds, may I never join with the foolish, may I join always with the wise, until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering, may the fear-struck be free from fear, may the grieving be free from grief, so too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to eternal peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Friends, now let us spend next few minutes listening to this Dhamma talk. I want to continue the series of talks on equanimity. Last week I touched upon it, and we mentioned briefly certain aspect of equanimity, which is called upekha in Pali. There are many types of equanimity. They are different in a very fine points. Unless we meditate very often and look at the equanimity within ourselves, we may not be able to understand these very fine differences in these kinds of different equanimities. One equanimity is called salayatana upekha, equanimity related to 6 senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. These are the objects of our senses. When we saw, hear, smell, and so on, there is no particular mental reaction, but experience them as they arise and pass away. No any remarks, any particular personal reactions, we just become aware of it. This kind of equanimity arises in the mind of an arahant, enlightened person. Enlightened person, you see in Mangala Sutta, you know Mangala Sutta by heart. There is a stanza, Puttasya lokadhammehi chittang yassa nakampati asokang virajang kemang etang mangalamuttamang. Touched by the worldly states, lokadhamma is gain and loss, fame and infamy, defame, blame and praise, happiness and suffering. These are the 8 worldly conditions worldly states. An enlightened person's mind does not react to any of these states. Ordinary people, when they gain something, they are so full of joy, so jubilant. When they lose, they are sad. When they become famous, they are proud. When they lose their popularity, they become depressed, sad. Then when they are praised, they are delighted. When they are blamed, they are unhappy. When they have certain happy moments, they get carried away with that. When they are faced with unhappy moments, they will be sad and depressed and disappointed. This kind of mental reactions would not take place in the mind of an arahant. And these states arise through senses, and therefore they are called salayatana upekha. Equanimity based on 6 senses, sensory objects that create worldly state, worldly vicissitudes. Another kind of upekha, we know Brahma Vihara upekha. In the 4 Brahma Viharas, Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. That means the mind is so altruistically cultivated that that mind can treat all beings alike, just like metta. When we practice metta, compassion, appreciative joy, we don't make any distinction whether such a person does not have an adversary, no enemy. Therefore, that person's mind remains equanimous towards all living beings without any kinds of distinction, differentiation, and discrimination, without bias, prejudice. The mind remains very balanced. That is emotional state. When loving friendliness has a certain degree of emotion, compassion has some, until if it is pure compassion like the Buddha's compassion. But otherwise, ordinary people's compassion has some degree of shades of emotion. Appreciative joy also can have some shades of emotion. One may appreciate if one's friends or relative make an achievement. We appreciate it. When adversary makes some achievement, normally we don't appreciate it. But for one who practices metta, compassion does not have an adversary. Everyone is equal, and therefore everyone's success, that person would rejoice in every person's success, any person. And that kind of equanimity is called Brahma Vihara Upekha. And there is a upekha that we are talking about in the 7 factors of enlightenment. Upekka Sambojjhanga. Upekka Sambojjhanga. Now, this we have to maintain with mindfulness, and this equanimity is balancing all mental factors, and that is why it is mentioned here as a factor of enlightenment. This factor has to be repeatedly cultivated again and again and again to the perfection, and that is why it is called factor of enlightenment. For instance, when the Buddha eats some food, listen to sounds, smell things, and touch things, he would taste the food just like anybody else, even better than even anybody else. But he does not have any reaction to the taste of food. If it is very bitter, unpleasant, or if it is very palatable, very delicious, the mind remains equanimous. So that is because he has cultivated this factor of enlightenment, not to react to them. And then there is another kind of equanimity. That equanimity is called virya upekka. Virya means energy, exertion, effort is called virya. When we particularly practice meditation, as I mentioned earlier, we may get more and more energy, and energy may turn into, if we, instead of a factor of enlightenment as virya sambojjhanga, it can be excessive energy. Excessive energy would lead to restlessness, and therefore we have to use the equanimity to balance this effort, additional effort, in order to make it go smoothly, harmoniously. And if we make it if we exert too much, we get tired very quickly. We cannot go very far. Just you have to see, you have seen when you walk or climb, if with children, they run very quickly, but not too far. After a short while, they get tired very quickly. But they don't know how to conserve their energy and use it very carefully so that they can continue the trip without getting too tired too quickly. Similarly, when we practice, if we make too much effort, we will burn out very quickly and we even lose our interest. So we have to learn to balance that energy. Then there is another kind of equanimity that is called sankhara upekha. Sankhara upekha, we talk little in detail when we were talking about dependent origination. We spoke about Sankhara. Sankhara is three kinds: bodily Sankhara, verbal Sankhara, and mental Sankhara. Kaya Sankhara, Vachi Sankhara, Chitta Sankhara. And these are activities. It's a very, very wide subject. The word Sankhara has wide meaning, deep meaning, complex meaning. But in short, the Sankhara that we have to balance is this verbal Sankhara. They are called verbal Sankharas are Vitakka Vichara. What are the Vitakka Vichara? Kama Vitakka, Vyapada Vitakka, Vihinsa Vitakka, or Nekkama Vitakka, Vyapada Vitakka, Vihinsa Vitakka. Meaning thought. Thought are called Sankharas. Thought also are called Kammas. And these Sankharas have to be balanced in order to make it very meaningful. For instance, Vachi Sankhara, mental, verbal conditioners, if we overwork in excess or overwork at the expense of the others, then we will again get into little drawback. And therefore we have to maintain those sankharas. Physical activities, mental activities, and verbal activities must be balanced. That is called what you call sankhara upekha. And there is another upekha called the feeling. One of the feelings is called upekha feelings. Sukha, dukkha, adukka masukha. Neither pleasant nor unpleasant, but balanced. That is called Vedana upekha. Vedana. Vedana means feelings. Feeling also has to be, has three stages. Normally, ordinary people don't know neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling unless they pay very mindful attention. That is, it is like the feeling between pleasantness and unpleasantness is there is a feeling. When the pleasantness slowly fades away, before unpleasantness begins, there is a period. During that period, we have equanimous feeling. For instance, all day long, we have, when there are no lot of activities, not people coming, and so many things are not happening, the mind remains equanimous. Then as soon as something happens, we experience either pleasantness or unpleasantness. Until such pleasantness or unpleasantness appear, the mind remains in equanimous state. And that normally people don't know. And this equanimity in ordinary person's mind arises with some confusion. The person does not know what state of mind is. But when we practice mindfulness meditation, we can use even that period to be mindful. When the pleasant feeling arises, we become mindful of the pleasant feeling. When unpleasant feeling arises, we become mindful of unpleasant feeling. When neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling arises, also we remain mindful of rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling of the breath. And therefore, we can remain in equanimous feeling most of the day. Then investigative equanimity, that is, we investigate into Dhamma, into the reality, without adding our own opinions, ideas, beliefs, and so forth, impartially investigate. This impartial investigation is also extremely important to develop our equanimity, even-mindedness, just-mindedness is very important to remain calm, peaceful, and happy. Then there are beautiful mental states called Subha. There we can there also arises equanimity, because when something is beautiful, or something else is also beautiful, two beautiful things, one may say this is more beautiful than the other also is beautiful. These are mental states. So when many beautiful things arise, the one who practices equanimity does not think or feel one is more beautiful than the other, or one is uglier than the other. The person remains in a balanced state of mind with equanimous state of mind. That is the equanimity of what you call Chetasika equanimity, upekha. Then there is another upekha called jhana upekha. When you attain jhanas, from the third jhana onward, you experience upekha, equanimity. Because your hindrances are subsided, all other wholesome mental states are in balance. They are in a balanced state. At that time, mind goes into equanimous state without agitation, excitement, or depression, sleepiness, drowsiness, and so forth. Without any of those things, the mind remains equanimous, because it is a very wholesome state and getting close to the attainment of full concentration. And then, lastly, purified equanimity. Upekha sati parisuddha, that is in the fourth jhana, both mindfulness and equanimity are equally purified. Equanimity purified because of the presence of mindfulness. Mindfulness is purified because of the presence of equanimity. This is where these two, mindfulness and equanimity, gets more purified. Now, that is also, if one is liberated, that individual does not think, does not claim the ownership of equanimity. That is called equanimity without ownership. That is called atammayata. Atammayata. Now, to end this series of talks on 7 factors of enlightenment, I must say all these factors of enlightenment, there are 7. One factor balances everything better than equanimity, stronger than equanimity. That factor is mindfulness. Mindfulness factor balances all the other remaining 6 factors of enlightenment. I think you remember when I talked earlier, I showed a balance. You balance scale. On the scale, you have certain things on one side and certain other things on other side. And if something is heavier, then you on one side, then you reduce that to balance with the other. And that kind of balancing is done with mindfulness. Mindfulness is the balancing factor. For instance, other factors, factor of joy, a factor of tranquility, factor of equanimity. These are passive factors. Joy, concentration, and tranquility. Joy, concentration, tranquility, they are passive. Energy, then investigation, and then the investigation, what do you call, energy, investigation, and what do you call, joy factor are active. So when you have too much energy, then mindfulness mindfulness intervenes and asks the mind to use more tranquility factor to balance too much energy. If investigation is too much, then mindfulness intervene and introduce concentration factor. And like this, mindfulness remains in the as a judge or justice to balance these other 6 factors. So that's what that is the end of this series of talks on the 7 factors of enlightenment. I hope you all remember we are dealing with the 4 foundations of mindfulness, and I have talked on other factors earlier. Now we came to the mindfulness of Dhamma. Among mindfulness Dhamma, we mentioned 5 hindrances, 5 aggregates, and 6 senses. They are sensory objects, and 7 factors of enlightenment. And the last is 4 noble truths. Now, next week onward, I will start talking about 4 noble truths. And 4 noble truths is very common. Almost every Buddhist even non-Buddhists know this is the core teachings of the Buddha, and which you find in some details in Mahasatipatthana Sutta. So I like to spend some time on that next week onward. Tomorrow I will answer your questions. Okay. Now let me finish this talk by sharing merits and wishing all our suffering persons, particularly patients in hospitals, now especially this COVID-19, we want to wish it to be over pretty soon, and those who are under the care of doctors, nurses, and hospital staff recover very quickly and return to normal health. And those very compassionate doctors, nurses, and hospital staffs who are risking their own lives to take care of these patients, may they continue their compassionate work and be free from any infection and live long in very good health and peace. And there are some others who have lost their loved ones. They have been mourning for a certain period of time, and still they are mourning. They all are grief-stricken people. I want them to be free from grief and continue the practice of Dhamma. Through the understanding of Dhamma, may they overcome their own grief and live long in very good health and peace. And there are very generous people who have helped to discover vaccines, and many companies produced, several companies produce vaccines, and they are given to many people, and many of them are vaccinated, including myself, and they are now hopefully free from COVID-19. And I hope others also will get it very soon, until the last person, and be free from COVID-19. And overall, all these leaders who have taken very wise, far-sighted leadership to accelerate giving vaccines, and may they continue their wonderful, wise work, and may all beings be well, happy, and peaceful, live long in very good health. Thank you very much, friends, for participating.
Thank you, Bhante.
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 Sadhu, sadhu,
Saranai,
Teruvan
Saranai.
Sadhu.
Sadhu, Teruvan Saranai. Teruvan Saranai, Bhante.